Hello, welcome to Who's On Next, the podcast that's been gone for a few months, but we're back now, so hi. Today I have with me a guy who's been doing animation and voiceover for a few years now, is Armand or Pringus.
Hey, that was a solid introduction there. I'll give that like a solid 7 out of 10. Good job there, buddy.
So,
Yeah. Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me.
yeah, not much. How are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's 2 days from the new year, so at least I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, this is either going to go up on New Year's or the day before New Year's or the day after New Year's. Who knows? It'll be whenever my editor puts it up.
Oh, perfect. What a perfect day to cap off the new year. An interview
Yeah.
with a less than consistent animator. Woo! All right. Yeah. Ooh, all right. Good to be here though. Hey.
Are you more conscious than than earlier?
I mean, well, like I've eaten my breakfast and I've drank my milk. I'm strong now.
Oh, you're not a coffee person.
I mean, it's funny you mentioned that. I mentioned this on streams a lot, but unlike a lot of other animators that I personally know and that like are just like most artists actually, yeah, I'm actually not really a coffee person because, well, I don't really drink coffee that much, so I tend to feel sleepy at around like 11 or 12, and that's usually like for animators and artists, that's like afternoon for them, and they can just pretty much go all the way until like 2 or 3 a.m. The only time I'll pull all-nighters is if I either force myself to stay awake, which most of the time is never a good thing, or if I'm just so lost in like my work, like I don't even notice what time it is. Like the recent animation that I was doing, like I was working and I got that thing uploaded at like 3 or 4 a.m. and I was like, oh crap, 3 or 4 a.m. Shit, what day is it today? There's just been a lot of times where I'm just so unaware of like, I've been doing this for like 2 or 3 hours now, and I've only it's only been like 3 hours, and I've only done like a second of animation or whatever like that. So that's something I always have to like keep track of, or something I just keep forgetting. But yeah, it's the life of an animator, I suppose. And yeah.
Yeah, it's like usually I don't usually drink coffee because I think my whole life I've just hated the way it tastes my entire life, and then everyone tells me, "Well, it's a taste you're supposed to get used to." I'm like, I'm supposed to get used to it tasting bad, like. Like I don't. That's the thing I've never understood about coffee. It's the same thing with like beer, or like it's the same thing.
I'm not really a beer person either.
Yeah,
I'm not even like an alcohol person either. I mean, like I drink like wine and like other, maybe some other beer that's uh that is acceptable or tolerable, but like I'm mostly not really a drinking person. So like
yeah.
whenever, well, the only little times I do ever get invited to a party, I'm usually the only sober one there, which is pretty funny. But yeah.
That's like
Yeah, I mean,
I'll drink like twice a year maybe, and it's just like fruity shit. It's never like beer or like vodka or like anything like super alcoholic. It's usually just like fruity drinks or like wine or things like that.
like I can down like an entire bottle of like iced tea any day, and that usually is that usually was keep me going, like the sugar or whatever like that. But that's probably not a good thing, and it keeps me hard to focus every now and then. So I'd say, I guess, just good old reliable water for me, and I start to fall asleep at like 11 or 10 or whatever, and usually that's uh when most people, like artists and stuff, are awake nowadays. But yeah, that's just how it is.
It's like I think it's just naturally for me. I just kind of have a drive where I wake up late and I stay up late, so it's just a constant flux of I'll be able to stay up till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I'll wake up at like 12 in the afternoon or 1. Like,
I have this unfortunate habit that my body just got made me get used to for some reason. Is no matter what time I fall asleep, I can fall asleep at like 11 p.m. like a good boy, or like I'll fall asleep at like 5 a.m. if I'm like if I'm like out and about doing stuff. No matter what time I fall asleep, I always wake up at around 7 or 8 a.m.
that's
I hate it.
weird.
And I hate it. I mean, like
That's
obviously,
weird, man.
obviously, if I sleep in super late, like the sun is rising, I can like sleep until like 12 or even 3 p.m. or whatever like that. But uh, my body has been gotten used to me waking up so early. Like, I mean, not even just for like school or college or whatever, but like just in general, because like I always, every time I wake up, I'm like, all right, I gotta do this, gotta do that, and then I gotta like straight into my animations or whatever. I don't know. I always
That's
wake up at like
weird.
7 or 8, and I I hate it because I know that if I sleep in, I'm gonna sleep in until the afternoon, and that's precious time taken away from me working on stuff. So I'm just like begrudgingly like open my crust filled eyes, and I'm like seven. It's like 7 or 8. I look at my watch and it's 7:30. Damn it! uh, and so that's very unfortunate, but I guess also pretty fortunate for me that I get to wake up early and either quickly get rid of my errands so I can focus on my projects. But I mean,
That's
man,
like
do I feel
that's
bitter about
some
that.
that's some hardcore like OCD brain, like almost like your body is so attuned to one period of time that it can't adjust to another period of time to wake up.
I suppose that's true. And I hate it for it. But oh
See, because
well, whatever gets my.
I'm always angry when I wake up at like 7. So
Well, like at the time, I thought it was I thought it was just pretty normal. But then like I go to sleep at like maybe 11 or 12, and I still see my friends online. They're either playing games or they're still working, and I wake up and they're still online. Wait, and then I'll be like, "Oh, you haven't slept yet?" And I was like, "Wait, you're awake?" And then I'm like, "Yeah, it sucks."
now these people like
So,
that are these people that like are like local like regional friends, or are these people that are actually like in other countries or things like that that are still
oh yeah, I mean
conscious?
like, but some of them are local. Like a lot of people stay up, like regardless. But yeah, a majority of my friends, especially like this year, are from across the globe in the states or whatever like that. So like, it's kind of hard for me to find time to talk to them or even just like hang out and play games with them or whatever, because our time zones are so like literally, it's literally night and day. Like I'm on the other side of the world for most of my friends that I made online. But
Oh, I
yeah,
guess we should
yeah.
actually put this into reference for people that are listening to this. You're 13 hours ahead of me, I think.
I
Is
am. I'm fr-
Yeah.
I'm fr- I'm from the future. I'm gonna know everything that happens 13 hours before you do. So, just keep that into consideration. Oh man.
I remember when I first made like British friends online that were like 6 hours ahead of me. I was like, "Oh my god, you know the future!" Like when I was like
It's
14, like
what's funny? In 2012, the day everybody died, I I spent Christmas in Australia.
what?
That's the most future of all places to be in. Um and I remember the day, what was it, like December 2021, 2020? I remember, sorry, 2012 or whatever.
2012.
Yeah, that was the end of the
It
day.
was
I remember
exactly
being
five. It was exactly 7 days ago this year.
pretty much, and
It's
I remember because we were in Australia from like I don't know, the 18th or 19th all the way to Christmas. I remember on the 19th of December 2012, um, I knew that shit wasn't real, but I was like, I went to bed, and I was like, God, I know that stuff isn't real, but if the world really does end, I've been a good boy, right?
you're not gonna screw me over on this, are you, God?
I mean, come on, I'm good for it, buddy, right? Come on. And then
I think everybody knew it wasn't real, but I think the day before, everybody, including myself, I think everyone had that same thing, like the night before, like, is everything gonna be okay?
yeah, like, but like that's the other thing. And I was in Australia, so I was like, so if it does happen, are we gonna experience it like
Is
14 hours
Australia gonna blow
before
up first?
it's gonna play? Exactly. And there was all these jokes. Like I remember, like I was still on 9gag or
Oh my
whatever.
God.
And like I remember all these jokes of like, hey, it's Australia, we're still alive, don't worry, or whatever like that. And I remember seeing someone like, you're in Australia, it doesn't count. the end of the day will come one day after you guys.
What was it? Who was the Mayans? The Mayans did that, and that was like
The Mayan calendar.
Yeah, that was South America. So I guess the end of the world was on South American time. So Australian time does not matter. South American time only. I hope it's South America. It might have been southern Mexico. I think it was South America was where the Mayans were.
Listen, you're talking to an animator, not a historian, so. Oh man.
Because I know the Mayan calendar doesn't mean I know everything about the Mayans.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh man. It's like, so I guess starting the interview, what is it that got you interested in doing animation?
So, back in around, well, so I've been drawing ever since I was a kid, like ever since I was like a wee little lad. I was always drawing something on I was always drawing something on paper, on a crayon or whatever like that. And all my family members was like, wow, you're gonna be a great artist someday. And I was like, yeah. But then around the middle school era, which was like early 20 like late 2000s, early 2010s, it was when I started middle school. And that's when the whole the Freddie W, Corridor Digital, and all those like filmmaking people like were starting to hit it big or whatever like that. And I've always had an interest in filmmaking because I would watch people like Angry Video Game Nerd, and I was really into film at the time. So I switched my interest to filmmaking. So I pursued filmmaking for a couple of years. And at that time, like, because since I focused so much on filmmaking, I sort of like stopped developing my artistic or drawing skills. And I would draw occasionally, but like, I would be studying film and like a film camera and all that stuff more than I was actually drawing and trying to improve as an artist. But so I did that. I went to film school for a bit, and I pursued filmmaking for just like basically the start of middle school all the way to pretty much almost the end of high school. And there was this one time in 2013 or 2014 where I went to Toronto to visit because Toronto is where my family's from. And so I went to Toronto, and that's where I was supposed to go for college. And I visited colleges in Toronto, and I think it was either Sheridan or Seneca College where I went there to look for film schools or film academies or whatever. But I went to one school or college, and they were showing us around. They were giving us the tour, and they were like, oh, so over here we'll go through the animation department. And like I turned the corner and I see like just this giant room of like people work, like a giant room of like a collection of work and people who have worked on their thesis works and whatever like that. And it's just like a bunch of like TV screens playing animations, and there's like displays of like artworks and like animation papers and all that stuff. And I don't know, like that kind of ignited like some sort of spark that was in me that was like, yeah, I think with what I want to achieve in filmmaking, I feel like I could do the same, if not more, with animation. because when I look back at my interests and my sort of the things that I was into, I was like, wait a minute, animation is perfect. Like I've always like, and plus like I've always wanted to draw, and I'm not saying that I've never had an interest in animation. I've always watched cartoons, anime, and all that stuff, and I knew and I knew some sort of like basic animation styles. Like I remember, I remember fidgeting around with a pivot stick figure animation a lot, and I really enjoyed that. But it really reignited my spark in animation, and at that moment, I was like, I'm gonna become an animator. Like just different talks with people, like different talks with people in their field, real life professionals who've worked with Disney, DreamWorks, and like I don't know, the one with the minions, Blue Sky or whatever. Is fine, we don't talk about that. Yeah, and I, and that time I was just like, yeah, I think this is really what I want to do. But the unfortunate thing about that is I feel like I was a bit of a late bloomer when it comes to animation, because I stopped drawing like back in middle school, and so in order to get into animation, I had to get back into drawing, because animation, if you want to get into the animation industry, it's not enough to just draw a ball, next frame, draw a ball on the next frame, ball moves there. I'm an animator. Let me into DreamWorks and Disney, please. Or whatever. It's not just that. You have to learn anatomy, you have to learn proportion, you have to learn the 12 principles of animation, and basically a lot of artistic skills and knowledge for you to even attempt to start making animations. So I was already left in a sort of, oh man, I've got a long way to go for for me to.
Well, yeah,
before,
it was basically like a reset.
Pretty much. I was like, all right, so it's like, I had a talk with all these people, and they were like, get your anatomy right, get your proportions straight, understand the human body and how it works, understand how to do backgrounds and like perspective. And I was like, okay. Crap! I can only draw stick figures right now.
Here's Richard Williams's book. Now read that. Now you get an animation.
It's so yeah. At the time, I pretty much like and I didn't exactly drop filmmaking as a whole. I would still take my knowledge and my learnings of filmmaking and apply them to my animations a lot of the time. But at the time, I really had to like sort of, because I was in my junior year when I rekindled that spark for animation. It was either my sophomore or junior year, I forgot. But I was like, okay, college is not that far off, and I'm pretty poopy at drawing. So I took a lot of classes. I had a mentor who would teach me a lot of the basics of human anatomy and all that stuff. And ultimately, I was not able to make it in time for me to apply for college abroad, because, oh man, the animation colleges, especially in like, the States, in Toronto, ooh, those are like some.
Oh no, I've heard people talk about the CalArts prices and shit like that.
Well, like I feel like CalArts is like,
well, that's like peak. That's like peak school you can go to.
Yeah, pretty much. And like, even some veterans, or like veterans in this sort of animation industry, even sometimes they have trouble even like just getting into CalArts. But but I guess what I'm saying is my skill level at the time was like, it was not up to par, or it was basically not good enough for the colleges in Toronto or wherever I was like planning to go. So I was unfortunately not able to move to Canada, because I couldn't find any good colleges at the time. And I still needed to up my skills as an artist in order to even go to an animation school. So I went to college here instead, in the Philippines, and I did take an animation course, and I did graduate with a bachelor's degree. Not a bachelor's degree, just like a bachelor in arts and animation. But I feel like even then, I still need to like grow as an animator myself. And it's funny because the iconic style, the iconic Pringus style that many people associate that many people associate myself with, is It's basically a style or a cartoony style that I just kept drawing because that was the easiest kind of like that was the easiest style or the kind of like drawing that I could come up with that was consistent and that I could easily animate. So the iconic Pringus style stems from the fact that I was shit at drawing and I had to and like I had to make my characters simple as possible for me to consistently draw them and animate them or whatever. That's why, big heads, mitten hands, or even just like regular ball hands or whatever.
Well,
Because
it's very geometric. It's very shape based
yeah,
bodies.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like even when you're learning anatomy, a lot of the stuff comes down to when you're drawing a torso, it's just basically a rectangle that's
Yeah.
just slightly curved, and then you start to put in all of the details or like that. So like yeah, like you said, shaping is important, and I guess since my characters are so round, and the way that I draw, like faces and eyes are so cartoony, it's somehow developed into a recognizable style that that's Pringles' style or whatever, and
You got
I find that kind of
the
cool.
characters have
So
like the Sonic Uni-Eye kind of thing. The merged
yeah, I
eyes.
mean, like, well,
Yeah.
like a lot of people seem to forget that like I usually associate with that with my character, like the Pringles character, but a lot of people forget that those are glasses and not eyes
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
because I wear glasses, but
Yeah.
yeah. But like a lot of questions or I get or a lot of people seem to know about my style is that they and I guess that's sort of been iconic for me is like my characters don't have pupils in their eyes or they don't have whites in their eyes. They have the krillin eyes
Yeah. Yeah.
as I like to call them. Yeah, and again that the simplest terms for me is because I draw like that or like I don't put whites in their eyes because one, it's easier to animate because it's hard to draw consistent eyes, especially on Flash or whatever. But but like of course, I know how to draw more consistently on Flash or whatever like that. But when I was starting out, I was just like, just half circle, put an iris there, we're done. Next frame, and yeah, and I just like I don't know. I found the Krillin eyes style pretty appealing. I don't know. It was just something I really liked about that. But because I mean, who has time to draw individual fingers for every frame? I mean, we got like 600,000 more frames to draw. Let's just mitten hand, maybe put a few dashes for the fingers. Next frame. All right, goodbye, everybody.
I don't know. There's
So
always been
yeah,
something
that's
so funny about just a big fleshy mound where a hand like where fingers would be. I don't know. I've just always found that really funny when I've seen that on characters before.
yeah. I'm well, yeah, because that's mostly attributed to cartoon characters and more sort of like cutesy cartoony characters because like if you see like a little pudgy character and you see his hands and it's just like a little circle hand, you'll think, oh, that's kind of cute or whatever, and it elicits this reaction that's like that is simple enough to and like if you get in if you elicit that kind of reaction to the point where people even don't like realize it, like, oh, that guy doesn't have any fingers, it's like, oh, I don't even realize that. And I feel like that's sort of when that you have a good and consistent like sort of style, and it's worked for me so far, and like a lot of people seem to like that kind of style, so that's how I developed the kind of dingus look so far. And yeah,
I think it's
the
interesting
dingus
because
look.
the dingus. Yeah, I love. It's interesting because with animation, usually when I've talked to animation people, they usually are interested in it from the start, or art is like their passion from like even when they're a kid. So I don't know. I find it interesting when I hear someone say like I was more interested in filmmaking and then I got interested in animation a lot later.
Well, Well, I mean, I mentioned it before, but it's like I have always had like a sort of interest, but like looking back at it now, I never considered myself, or I guess I never would have thought, like if I were to time travel back and tell, like, I don't know, like 9-year-old dingus that, hey, you're gonna be an animator, and a lot of people on YouTube are gonna watch you and make very funny ha-has on your videos, and I'm like, and then my 9-year-old self would be like, wait, who are you? So but yeah, like I've always had that interest in doing um animation. Like I know it's a really cool form of art, where obviously you take characters, you draw them, and you bring them back to life, and who the fuck doesn't want that? But um it was I guess, if you were to tell me that I would be an animator back then, I probably wouldn't have believed you. I either said I wouldn't have believed you, or I would have been like, oh, I guess that makes sense. um but like, yeah, I've it was a bit like, when I think back about it, I was like, yeah, I was super hardcore into, like, I was gonna be a filmmaker, like I was gonna be a director. That's sort of what I wanted for a while, for a long time. And now I'm just, and now suddenly I'm just like, oh, I'm in the animating industry, and now I'm sort of doing good for myself, and I never would have really thought about that. But then again, like, sometimes when I think back to what I did, like, as a kid, and what I've like dreamed of doing, and I'm like, yeah, you know what, animation does make sense. Like, I guess I didn't really realize it or even appreciate it at the time. So now I get to appreciate it even more, since, like, I'm actually animating a lot of stuff, and I'm improving as an artist, and that's sort of just, that's the whole reason why I do it, and what I guess want, not now more than anything. But
Well,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
yeah, well, I think it's also like it's an interesting contrast because as a voice actor, I've known very few voice actors, like in my field. I've known very few that started out wanting to do voiceover. Like a lot of the time it was like, oh, I wanted to do this, or I wanted to get into writing, or I wanted to be a graphics designer, like, and just acting kind of stumbled. And I just find it interesting with the contrast with animation for a lot of people that I've known, because usually for the longest time it was, oh, I was always interested in art, and I always wanted to animate, and I always wanted to do this and this. I've just always
Well,
found that
it's
such an interesting contrast.
well, it's funny because a lot of people that I know, well, personally, a lot of people that I know, when I ask them, did you like what got you into animating? A lot of the people, most of the time, said I didn't start wanting to be an animator. But I do know a lot of people who are the opposite. And it's funny you bring up voice acting, is because voice acting is something that I've actually always wanted to do. Like, I've always wanted to be a voice actor, and, like, even back when I was a filmmaker, I still was always interested and wanted to be a voice actor in, like, cartoons or animes and video games and all that stuff. And that kind of passion never really died down for me. So
I think it's, for me, it was I always wanted to be in entertainment in some way, but I never really knew what
yeah.
I wanted to do. Cause for years, I think when I was in middle school, I wanted to be a well, I think for the longest time I wanted to be a puppeteer. Like that was because I
Oh,
think puppetry. I mean, still I love, like, I own like 4 or 5 different like Jim Henson books on my shelf, like behind me. Like I'm very much into Muppets and ventriloquism, which was
ooh,
what I wanted to do, was
that's
ventriloquism.
awesome.
Yeah, and I still have a lot of the puppets from when I was in middle school, and that kind of died down when I got to high school, because I think when I got to high school, I just got to a point where I was like, I feel like a lot of people are gonna think I'm the weirdo with puppets in high school. So I was like, I probably shouldn't be carrying puppets around. And I think as a kid, and my parents and my sisters can attest to this, it was like I would always pick out names in credits. Like I would always memorize shit. I would always
Oh
be like,
yeah.
oh, I think Tom Kenny was like one of the first names I ever recognized, like when I was a
Oh
kid,
yeah.
because I remember SpongeBob And I think the first time I ever really picked up his name was when I was watching Kids Next Door. And I just saw the name Tom Kenny, and then I saw it again in another show, and then I saw it again in another show. I was like, huh, this Tom Kenny guy's in a lot of stuff. And I just started like picking up on that a lot more and more, to the point that my dad, if we were having family reunions, my dad would be like, "Hey Michael, name all the people that are in Shrek." And I would I would go through like every single like notable name in Shrek. Like I would be able to name off like everybody when I was like 7. Like
I used to do something similar to that when it comes to like video games and anime and all that stuff. Your Tom Kenny was my the first name that I recognized in the industry was a Steve Bloom, and
oh yeah,
he's
that
a
was
super
yeah.
talented voice actor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a super talented voice actor that I still hold to this day as like one of the huge inspirations for me wanting to do voice acting. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Going back in the entertainment industry thing, I find it interesting that, you know, even though sometimes people like myself like switch around sort of the like I went from filmmaking to animation, but it's still like both of that aspects are like, you know, part of the filmmaking industry. Sorry, the entertainment industry. Like I wanted to make films for people to enjoy, and now I suddenly switch to I want to make animations for people to enjoy. And you know, I kind of find that interesting to an extent, because I mean, like I feel like regardless of what I pursued that day, I feel like just the main point or the main reason why I pursued that is because I want to create things for people to be entertained by, and you know that's sort of just the main whole driving. Excuse me, the whole main like, you know, driving point of why I do these things, and yeah, that's pretty. That's I feel like that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no,
Oh,
I
excuse
mean,
me.
yeah, yeah. For me, it was kind of the same thing. But for me, voiceover was just I like voice acting. Everyone tells me I need to get into acting. I have terrible stage fright. I'm gonna do voiceover. That's
Oh man.
oh man, I'm not. Even to this day, even when I did ventriloquism to like crowds, I was still like, I hate this. I don't like being in front of people.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, like, you know, a lot of the time, like a lot of what do you call this? Advice that people give to voice actors is, you know, if you want to voice act, you got to learn how to act, and because that's pretty much the whole reason or the whole point of voice acting, something like that. So I feel like, and again, I feel like that kind of applies to pretty much everything.
Oh
You
yeah.
want to be an animator, you got to learn how to draw. You got to know how to what the basic anatomy of a human is. You can't just like, you know, go in there willy nilly. I mean, like you can, but like, you know, if you do that, then you're sort of not really maybe grasping like the full extent of being an animator and an artist is, or whatever like that. So like, yeah, I kind of find it interesting.
I think for me, I took a year of improv and I really liked it, but that's pretty much all the acting training I think I've ever had as an actor.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
kind of just self-taught, and I think it helps that I've had so many like I have so many voice actor friends, so I think that's another major thing. And I think it's just my obsession with acting and voiceover as a whole has also helped me a lot, because it's another thing of I look up shit constantly. It's not just I'm just going to dive into acting with no experience whatsoever and hope I'm good at it. Like it's like, cuz you have to teach, like you have to I'm someone who's under the mindset that you don't have to pay like $300 for acting classes to become a voice actor. I think as long as you look up all the right things you need to look up and you get all the right experience and you talk to the right people, you can become a voice actor. I feel like you don't need to shell out thousands of dollars for acting lessons or teaching. That helps, but I don't
Yeah,
think it's 100% required.
yeah, I feel like that's sort of a common preconceived notion that a lot of people have when it comes to just like I guess anything in general, where it's like, oh, my friend went to Cal Arts. I guess I gotta save up like
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of dollars to apply, and like the and maybe and like, you know, after I do that, I'll be like I'll be like a super talented. I'll be the next. Um,
Be
I'll
the
be the
next
next.
Richard
Oh God, I'm trying to think of.
Williams.
It's something like that. Like but yeah, like you said, it's not that going to classes or whatever like that is entirely like useless or whatever. It definitely helps, but it's definitely not like, as long as you have the passion for it and like the sort of drive and motivation to keep going and improving as an actor, voice actor, or an animator, or an artist, then I feel like that in and of itself should be enough to help you improve as a sort of artist in the entertainment industry. And I mean, it's kind of gotten me this far. Even though I did go to a college for animation, I feel like a lot of the things that even though a lot of the things that I picked up, and a lot of like like a lot of animation techniques and all that stuff, even though they were technically taught to me, it was like it was brushed on or glazed on like so quickly that I would forget them in like a few weeks. So a lot of the stuff that I do now is mostly self-taught or self-experimented, like where I would like try this thing that I've never tried before, and and yeah, that's how I've got. It's I've unfortunately been a product of the fake it till you make it, and I'm not saying that everybody should fake it till they make it, but even still try to have like this sort of core values of why you're doing this, and if this thing is really what you want to do, then you got to do it out of passion and out of like you do it because you want to. So yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like I went to college for acting. I've retained next to
Yeah.
nothing that I was taught. Like I remember I remember vocal exercises. I had to help participate. I didn't participate in any of the plays. I was a tech guy on all of the plays that they did, or at least like a few of them. I never once actually got on a stage and played a character or auditioned for anything at the college, because I just was like, I want to do acting, but I don't want to. I don't want to go. I don't know. It was my anxiety was also just kind of the thing of like, I'm getting a lot of experience without having to go on stage. So like,
that's yeah. I've sort of done the complete opposite of that, where when I was in high school or middle school, I would like pretty much join every single play that I could, because well, this was back when I was still wanting to be a filmmaker and voice actor at the time. So like I sort of wanted to improve my acting by, and most of the time I would always only get minor roles, but like it was still like I was still trying to build up that confidence in being like like a better actor myself. So whenever I tell people that, is like, oh yeah, when I joined every single play ever since like the start of middle school, and I was like, oh, so you're pursuing acting? No, I'm an animator. Oh. So it's just it's just funny where those like the roads that you take when you're starting out doesn't necessarily lead, or isn't necessarily like that's the exact road, or that's the exact thing that'll take you to where you want to be, or where you thought you'd want to be. But at the same time, it still does kind of help sometimes. But yeah,
I think one of my favorite things was in high school. I only got into acting in senior year of high school, and the acting teacher at the high school was really nice and found ways to put me in productions with really having to get me on stage. So it was kind of interesting because the first play I did, there were little wraparound segments every time. It was basically an anthology play, and there was an opening narration for every single different segment, and the teacher found a way. It was like, well, you do voiceover, why don't you just do different voices for like every different opening segment? So I never had to go out on stage once. I just got behind the stage and used a microphone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no. And she was like, hey, just
awesome.
come up with like 8 or 9 different voices and just read the lines backstage. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't want to go out there in front of like 500 people. It's actually something I've been kind of curious about because again, you're from the Philippines, and I was actually having a conversation with a few friends recently about like regional differences in content, like shit you got compared to shit we got, or I guess what was on what compared to what. And I mean, do you know like much of what's different from where you are compared to where like what's in the States or things like that in terms of like animation content?
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, growing up, a lot of the time, I mean, like, obviously there was like a Cartoon Network and all that stuff, but like, the only cartoon that I remember watching growing up, because at the time my family couldn't really afford like a big sorry, not a big channel network or whatever like
Like
that.
cable, like that.
Um, yeah, pretty much. It was either educational, like there was like 5 channels: educational channel, news. There was a lot of Filipino talk show stuff that was really popular back in the day. Music video place like MTV or whatever. We had a Philippines equivalent of MTV. I forgot what it's called. Or Captain Planet.
Wait, there was a channel just dedicated to Captain
Wait,
Planet.
no. No.
Oh,
It was part.
oh.
It was part of. It was one of those. It was one of those channels that was showing like kitty, like really kitty, sort of educational. Like it was like live action stuff, and
Was it
like
like
whenever there
PBS?
were like
Was it like
animations,
educational shit? Like what was it?
sometimes like it was weird. It showed like a lot of education. Like, there would be a dude and like, I don't know, like a clown costume talking about how polluting is bad, or like, listen to your listen to your parents,
Listen to your kids,
and listen
parents.
to your kids, parents. And then all of a sudden, like, after that, Captain Planet would come on, and I'm like, oh god, please, at least something different. And it's like, and Captain Planet comes on, it's like, oh, pollution is bad. Listen to your parents, kids. And I'm like, oh no.
Dude, going back to Captain Planet as an adult, Captain Planet got pretty hardcore with some.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. At the time, I was just like, oh, more educational stuff. But like, I sort of learned to appreciate it more, like as I was growing up and whatever, and like, I don't know, even as like a cartoon in and of itself, I was like, yeah, I could dig this. um, but yeah, I guess when it comes to like going back to your like regional differences, I guess when it comes to animation specifically, the Philippines didn't really have animation, like, cartoon courses, or even just like content back in the day. And honestly, even now, like, there isn't really, I mean, like, actually that's not true. There is a lot of Filipino animators, like, there are a lot of animators, but like, when it comes to animation in and of itself, it's not that common. It was definitely not that common back in the day, where, excuse me, where it's like, oh, the Philippines created this TV show, or whatever. That was pretty much non-existent. I feel like the Philippines is more famous, like when it comes to the animation industry. The Philippines is more famous for the animators that grew up in the Philippines, rather than, oh, this animation was made in the Philippines or whatever like that.
Because I know
where,
there are I think Disney and Warner Brothers have some subsidiary like areas in the Philippines or something like that, like some outsourced
yeah,
animation.
there are a lot of animation studios in the Philippines that I that I actually applied for, that do outsource to Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and more commonly Disney. And even like, I think the Netflix show Carmen Sandiego, like that animated Carmen Sandiego thing.
Yeah,
There's a
like that's
yeah,
done
there's
completely out. That's completely outsourced, I think, if I remember correctly.
yeah. There's a studio here that does the majority of the animation in the Philippines that I know of. They actually came under they actually came under fire a little bit last year or last year,
Wasn't it like a
where a
payment
lot of
thing
the
or something like that? Like,
a lot of the animators here, especially, were treated not so great, and like they were pretty much getting middling payment at best, and considering how much work animation like that goes into, and like when it's being outsourced to something as big as like Netflix, or even like just
yeah, you would think
the
Netflix would be paying pretty high price or being able to like.
like honestly, it's just how it's unfortunately how the just the animation industry in and of itself sometimes isn't really taken that seriously, and how manipulative it can be sometimes. Um, there's a lot of stories like that where animators are not treated and paid fairly.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
Philippines is no yeah the Philippines is no exception. I've known a lot of like stories from animators, a lot of animators that I know, and a lot of animators that are in general that are just not treated the best, and it just kind of sucks that um animators and artists in general are just taken advantage of, just because it's like, oh, you know draw like 3,000 frames in like this one day, and we'll pay you like less than $100 for it or whatever like that. And
Less
yeah,
than like
it's
30,
just
like
it's just
30% of what it's actually worth, or something like that.
I it's funny because I applied for a lot of those animation studios. In fact, I attended like a lot of workshops for those animation studios, but uh I wasn't able to get in because the workshops themselves I had to pay for. And even if I did want to get a job, I would have to pay again, because the way that a lot of these getting a job as an animator works is you go to these workshops, and they basically, oh my god, I think someone just like followed me on OBS. Oh god. But the way sorry, an alert just went off, but the way that it works is, or that most of these works is that you attend these workshops, or like these sort of test things where they'll give you a bunch of work to do, and they'll assess you, or they'll observe you as an animator, how good you are, how consistent you work, or whatever like that, and then they'll say, you know yeah, you can come work for us, or attend more workshops, and we'll see what we can do for you, or whatever like that. Unfortunately, a lot of these workshops you had to pay for yourself. And at the time, I wasn't really swimming in money at the time, but so I unfortunately couldn't attend more workshops, and I couldn't get hired. And even though I was like the beginning years of 2019, which is ironically the year that I gained popularity, I was pretty much unemployed for more than half that year.
Oh no,
And
I've had
it
animation
was
friends that have said the same thing. Like, oh, I had
it's
this period of 1 year where I was doing good, and then like a year where I just got nothing, like just absolutely nothing.
it was just constant, we'll get back to you,
Yeah.
except we won't.
Ooh,
or
ooh,
or
ooh. I
it
hate
was
that.
it was like yeah, I would say, are you hiring right now? I can give you my resume, blah blah blah. And then they're like, okay, oh, this is a pretty good resume. We'll email you, or we'll call you, and we'll just see where it goes from there. Okay. They said that to me like 7 months ago, but I'm still waiting.
Man,
or
as a voice actor, I've had the same problems.
uh,
Ooh,
yeah,
ooh.
but it was either that they said, we'll get back to you, they never got back to me, or they never got back to me in the first place, or they're not hiring right now, like as an animator or whatever like that. And even like as simple as internships is unfortunately and ironically very difficult to get in the animation industry, because like unless you intern under a mentor who will like sort of teach you under all the ropes or whatever like that. But that's kind of hard to come across, and especially hard to come across unless you pay for it again. But it was, ooh, oh man, those beginning years, excuse me, the beginning like quarter or more than half the year of 2019 was just me scrambling to look for jobs and just not getting back on any one of those. And like even at the time, while I was looking for jobs, I was already like, making animations for the Pringus stuff. But like, that was more of a side thing because I was still trying to pursue my goal as my career goal as an animator, like just in the industry. And it was just so hard for me to find a job and just like, even just stuff to work for. I went freelancing, but most of my freelance work was making animations or editing videos for like entrepreneurship companies or like a lot of business stuff. And it's just like, I'm making okay money from these freelance stuff, but it's just like, I mean, I'm currently animating something for like an entrepreneurship company where it's like, oh man, I really don't want to do this. And it was something that I was just not enjoying. So, and but then again, like I said, that was sort of the time where my Pringus, where I started getting popularity, and I was enjoying a lot. I was enjoying a lot more of my side animations than I was like actually pursuing, professional animation industry or even just like my freelance work in general. So, I mean, yeah, that was a big struggle for me at the time, but at the same time, it was a big saving grace that the stuff that I was posting online was a lot of people were enjoying, and it was like, oh my god, you're such a good animator, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh man, it was a bit it was a bit overwhelming of emotions, mixed emotions that I was trying to going through at the time.
At least you understand
Yeah.
me, internet, unlike the real world.
Oh boy, it's
Oh.
too real. It's too real.
No, I think the thing I hate most is not when they ghost you, basically, like they get back to you and then they never contact you again. What I hate more is they just never contact you, period. Like you send them an email, like they have open DMs and they're like, yeah, we're accepting auditions or for this or this, and or they'll say, okay, we'll get back to you in like 2 months once your audition is sent in, and they just never say anything, period, like at all when you send them something. And that makes me paranoid because that almost makes me think like, I hope the email went through, like, because I've had that shit several times where they just never say anything, like, period. Because like I'd rather have someone tell me that they got it. Like even if I don't get the part, I want someone to at least confirm to me like, thanks, we got it, or like some sort of acknowledgement. And I guess they're not like 100% inclined to do that, but I guess I just prefer the reassurance of thanks for sending in your audition to us. Like just to at least know that you got it.
Yeah, and even sometimes it's even better to get, oh, sorry you didn't get this, other than just like never being never being contacted.
I'd much rather have the confirmation that at least it was heard. Like that's the thing. Like at least it was seen or heard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I hate sending in auditions and then like hearing nothing, because it just always makes me paranoid that I'm like, I hope that email went through. Because there's been a couple times where it didn't, and that made me really sad when I found out it didn't. I guess speaking of, I guess, has there ever been like, I guess a franchise, either as an animator or voiceover, like something you'd really, really want to be a part of? Because I love asking people that so much.
Ooh, there's there's a lot, because I've been there have been a lot of stuff that influenced me as a child and even like growing up to today. So like I guess one of the things that I would love to be a part of, either as an animator or a voice actor, whatever that would make me happiest the most. Any like I'm commonly associated with like Nintendo, because I animate and draw the Nintendo princesses a lot.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm able to work like officially with Nintendo on anything, that would be pretty much a dream come true. I'll say this right now. I'm a huge Sonic fan.
Ooh.
Um, if I if I somehow was like commissioned, or if I was approached by Sega to, like, I don't know, like, hey, would you like to, even just like, would you like to work on this, like, just this one animated trailer, or like even just like, this is something like, animated, I feel like I would die happy if I get to voice like anything. I can voice a fucking side character in a Sonic game. I could be one of the dudes that was running away in the background. Like, I'd be okay with that. I guess so. Like, Sonic was a really big part of my childhood because at the time, my very first console, like my very first gaming console, was a Sega Genesis.
Me too.
And this was at the time that the PlayStation 1 was already out.
Oh yeah, no, I got a Genesis when I was like 4, and by that time, like the PS2 had just come out. So like,
yeah, my family was not the wealthiest, and that's pretty much what they could have gotten me. So yeah, Sonic was a big part of my childhood. Like when it comes to cartoons, Transformers and Ninja Turtles are the first two that come to mind.
Oh, I love you.
I as a child, as a wee little dingus, I had a CRT, like in my room. I had this tiny CRT TV with a VHS, like, thing on the bottom, and I would always pop in my 1984 Ninja Turtles
OG.
cartoon series.
Oh, this was like OG like Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Like the first thing that got me into Ninja Turtles actually was the video game. I think the first ever I played was Turtles in Time, and that got me into the TV series, and I pretty much became like a Turtles boy ever
on
since.
Super Nintendo or on Super Nintendo or Genesis?
I'm pretty sure in my local arcade there was a Turtles in Time arcade machine there, and I just became a Turtle fan right there. Yeah, anything Transformers. I know Transformers sort of has like a sort of like, take it with a grain of salt because of, the Bayformers and all that stuff. But
I would not. I wouldn't even give a shit if it was a Bayformer movie. I would still do it. I don't even care.
If if I was able to do anything associated with Transformers, just in general, I would. That would be. I would be very. I'd be a very happy dingus.
I'm also someone. I am also someone that finds those movies like stupid fucking entertaining. Like, I own all of them. I love those movies. They're not good, but I love them.
Yeah, it's like, every now and then I can at least sometimes I can sometimes go back to them and enjoy myself just a little bit. But like, even the Bayformers can't ruin Transformers for me.
That's the thing.
I know
it's like, I can't hate them. I can't hate them because they're what I expect. When I hear Michael Bay Transformers, it's exactly what I expect them to be. And I don't know. I just think they're too much fun to hate, in my opinion. Like, they're dumb. They're not good. They're not good movies. I'd say the first and maybe the fourth one are like the closest to being competent, but they're not good. Like,
yeah. I feel like the last one that I just actually enjoyed was, well, the first one.
Bumblebee's.
Like,
have you seen Bumblebee?
Back at it now,
I assume. Have you?
I have seen Bumblebee. And it was very hard for me not to squee in the theater.
Opening. Oh, the opening is so good.
I forgot who I was watching with, but I was like, because here's the thing, the movie experience in the Philippines, we're not really the kind of people to clap and whoop in the theater. We're very like, we're watching, everybody shut the fuck up and just watch the TV. Watch the. To
be fair, that's usually screen. Like movie premieres that Americans do that. Like, that's like the night of the movie coming out. But like, yeah.
But it was very difficult, and like, it was very difficult. Like, I'm sorry to the person who was watching with me at the time, because I might have like grasped their arm so tight that they might have turned blue because I was geeking out so much. It was so good.
Oh, the opening of that movie is so good. I'm really excited for that movie that they're doing, apparently based around Cybertron. I'm really excited for that.
I just want, like, Peter Cullen was talking about this in an interview. I just want a solo Optimus Prime movie with him and, like, him on Cybertron or whatever. That would have been really good. And like, it's funny you mentioned Bumblebee. I have these. Give me a sec. I have these two figures with me that I display on my shelf. I'll send you a picture, but I have these two Bumblebee and Optimus Prime figures that I have on my
Are
shelf
these like
with me.
G1 or are these like more recent like toys?
Oh no, these are more recent. Here,
I was gonna say if those are
I just
G1, those would be worth a lot of money. Ooh.
I have
Oh yeah,
those on
those
my
are
shelf.
yeah, those are like
Good.
those are like Bumblebee models.
Yeah. I actually did collect a lot of Transformer toys.
Is that
Like
Voltron on the right?
that is Voltron on the right, yeah. but what do you call this? I did collect a lot of Transformers. I at the I unfortunately sold a lot of my Transformers because very I was a very broke boy at the time, and a lot of like there's a lot of collectors in the Philippines, like toy collectors, card collectors, and all of like that. Just like the collecting community in the Philippines is surprisingly high. So a lot of people were looking for the toys that I had, and excuse me, they paid good money for it. So, and at the time, I needed lunch money. I needed money to survive,
The
so I
bullies
had to
took my
part with
money.
them.
Took my lunch money.
If I could, I definitely would have kept like pretty much all of them. But
Oh
yeah,
no,
it's
I think
unfortunate.
everyone goes through that. I sold my Nintendo Wii and all my GameCube and nearly all my GameCube and Wii games to get a Wii U.
Yikes!
And that was a good investment. That was a real good
Listen,
investment to sell my Wii for.
listen, we're not perfect. We're human.
Oh man, I mean I kept some of my GameCube and Wii games, like the ones that I was like, if I get a Wii again, I'll play those. But like I don't know, to this day I'm
Yeah.
still kicking myself because I'm like I sold Mario Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion and, and like several of
You,
my
you know what's funny?
games.
Since we're on the topic of Nintendo, a lot of people associate me with, like I said before, they associate me with Nintendo and the princesses
Yeah,
because the whole reason how I became kind of popular in the first place was the whole "Hi, I'm Daisy"
yeah, the Daisy
animation,
video.
and yeah, and that's whenever people see Pringus on a video or whatever like that, a lot of people go, "Hey, it's the Daisy guy," or it's like but it's funny because I might have said this on my stream a couple of times, but like prior to that, I mean, like I love Nintendo. And of course Daisy my favorite character. Like I've loved Nintendo, but honestly, I'm kind of more of a Sonic fan than I am a Mario fan when it comes to that.
I mean, so I've always
and
been a
I
Sonic person. Yeah.
I've just unfortunately haven't made a lot of Sonic cartoons in order for people to like know that, oh, this guy's a Sonic dude. But I'm not saying that I'm upset being associated with Mario and Daisy a lot, but that's just I just kind of find that funny how I'm mostly, well, if you look at my channel, 90% of the time, if not 100% of my videos are all Nintendo based, Nintendo based
I mean, there's like a
characters.
couple Sonic things in
Um,
here, like because I know you made that recent one with Rouge.
oh, the Rouge one, yeah. But yeah, I figured that since the Nintendo stuff was what got me going, I might as well keep riding that train. And plus, I enjoy making those. And a lot of the time, like when I look back at my yearly animations before the start of 2020, I was like, wait a minute, all of these are Nintendo Nintendo owned properties. Sometimes I
Way.
don't even realize. Yeah, wait a minute.
It's like when I was going through my voiceover, like my playlist of all my voiceover work when I was making my demo, like my visual demo this year, and I was realizing, wait, most of these are impressions. Like a lot of them weren't like original voices, and I was like, wait, like, and it hadn't dawned on me until like like 6 years into my voiceover career, I'm like, wait, mostly all I've done are impressions. Now I'm upset.
I kind of feel that because every now and then, besides the animation stuff, I would post some voice, mostly memes, like voice stuff where I voice characters. The most Somehow the most popular voice thing that I've ever done was a parody of Beastars, where I voiced Louis. Like I don't know if you've seen the Pickle Rick
Oh
Louis
God,
Beastar video. Yeah, that was me.
I don't think I
Um,
have seen that. No, now I have to look it up.
I this was right before quarantine started. Like as I recorded that, I left to go to my family's because we gotta stay in quarantine for a couple of weeks. This will probably blow over in a few days, and it's like, oh fuck. But that somehow became my most that got viral. It got like 100,000 views in like less than a day on Twitter, and I was like, oh no, is this how my voiceover career starts? How'd you get into the voice acting industry? Oh, I voiced the Pickle Rick meme. Mm.
Oh man,
Not gonna look good in my resume.
I remember one of the biggest voiceover things I think I ever did on Twitter, and I've told myself for a long time because I have a lot of voice acting friends that do like memes on Twitter. I'm like, I need to do some more voiceover memes. I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, I never know what to do. One of the only times I did one, and one of the only ones that ever actually got popular, was I found this thing on Tumblr where it was all of these restaurant logos like KFC and Wendy's and Taco Bell, and it was like the title of the restaurant and the slogan, and it was just I can't even explain it. It was just like stupid, like little jokes, like, or fake stupid slogans they would come up with. Like, this was I found, I'm gonna put it in the chat real quick. This was one of them. Just
Oh,
Wheaties old fashioned Hergus Burgus. Like, it was just I found a compilation. Yeah, it was these. It was just a video of me dramatically reading all of these, and it's one of the only ones. And
cool.
to this day, the A&A one, and Taco Baco Tinkle Outside the Binkle still make me laugh every time I read Tinkle Outside the Binkle. I always laugh at that every time. And that's like one of the only memes I ever made that actually like picked up. Because I did like a Beastars one not too long ago that I was really happy with. It got some attention, but it didn't like blow up.
Yeah.
It's like with doing voices for things, it's funny. I just said I'm kind of sad that I think some of my biggest projects were like impressions. So my demo is comprised of all the animations I've done, or the majority that are not me doing impressions. Which I remember interviewing Jack Angel, who is a 90-year-old voiceover veteran. He's been doing it for a long time. I remember after I was done interviewing him, we talked for like 40 minutes, and I just remember him saying, I was being like, some people just don't view impressions as voiceover, and he just bluntly went, oh, bullshit. Like, just bullshit. You could, like, if you can do an impression but you can play a character, you can do voiceover. Like, but I guess I still have this mindset of like, I don't know if I should be heavily promoting impression work, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that because I know some voice actor friends who, like, you know, like they're mostly most well known for like voicing memes and stuff, and I guess even when it comes to my sort of quote unquote voice acting career, it mostly stems from like me just like finding something funny on the internet and voicing it, haha, like, retweet, blah 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 blah. But I mean, like, I feel like even like, if you like, even that kind of like, even finding that kind of success is sort of like, it definitely shouldn't be it definitely shouldn't be just disregarded as like, oh, I just voiced a meme, whatever. It's like it's not gonna land me any roles, and
Well,
it's
that's
just like,
usually that's
if
usually where I see people do impressions the most is like Twitter memes and stuff like that. But I think it's also because that's an outlet where it makes more sense a lot of the time to do that with Twitter memes or things like that. Do like really jokey voices or things of that nature, like
yeah,
things you
and
wouldn't
I
get
mean,
hired for, like unless it was like someone who was looking for that specific voice normally.
And I mean, like, even if, like, someone voices something and it gets a lot of attention, but it got a lot of attention just because it was a meme or something funny. I feel like even if you do elicit some kind of reaction, some kind of positive reaction in any way of something that you're reading or acting out, I feel like even that can, that can be given a kind of form of, I don't know, like like motivation, or sort of like, it's like, people enjoy, if people enjoy my voice, or sometimes even people didn't even recognize my voice for doing this. I feel like, um I could sort of keep that sort of drive and momentum going to, keep on pursuing like voice acting or something like that. I feel like even if you, excuse me, even if you get like, like like the kind of attention you get is just mostly from something funny or something memey or something that'll just be like funny for a few days or whatever. I feel like even that sort of like, even that little bit of success is, I feel like, still should be considered success, and like what would help you keep striving to be better. I mean like fuck, I built my quote unquote career on a post that I randomly found on Twitter, and I just decided to animate it.
Just
And now I suddenly, I sort of just, that's sort of where I got from here, and that's sort of how I formed all these, relationships, and all these this kind of forms of success in finding something, and just like, having that kind of positive reaction fuel my drive to keep on doing more, and keep on getting to that level of like, not even like I'm not doing it because, like, I want to be famous or anything, but like, even that kind of, even that little bit of just feeling positive about something that you created, eliciting a positive reaction. I feel like that's sort of a good enough, or not really, like, I wouldn't say good enough, but like a good drive in and of itself to keep you becoming or striving to be better. If not for you, then for the people who at least support you in a way, shape, or form. So, I kind of get that sentiment. Like, again, I don't really want my voice acting career to stem from a Pickle Rick meme, but at the same time, but at the same time, you know, I would, like, like, I wouldn't really want to feel down about that. I at least, I was able to fool some people that I voiced Louis. So, I'll take what I can get.
Well, it's like I have friends who have made like massive Twitter meme careers doing impress. Like my friend Gianni does an amazing Duke Nukem, and he does like Duke Nukem video posts all the time. And like I've known people who can do like Soldier from TF2, and they're like amazing at doing it, and they do memes all the time. I will admit, I have shamelessly done Vector the Crocodile memes because I love doing Vector's voice, and please, if I could ever do that for Sonic, I would do Vector in a heartbeat. If so, I just want to play Vector.
Thank you if you're watching.
I just want to play Vector. Is my favorite character, and it's like the one Sonic voice I think I'm competent at doing. It's like the one thing. Just one day, I want Sega to come to my house personally, knock on my door, and be like, "Hello, do you want to do Vector? You don't even have to audition." And be like, "I'll do it for you in a heartbeat." Where were we? I forgot. Where did we go? I don't know where. I got lost in that conversation.
Man.
Where were we?
I think we were talking about Vector, right?
No, prior to Vector. Oh.
I think the last question you asked me was, what was a project that you'd want to be a part of or something.
I mean, if you could think of like an iconic character, I think that's another thing. Like if you could play
Mm.
one notable character. Like I guess for me with Sonic, I'd want to do Vector because Vector's like my favorite character, and it's the one voice I can do with Sonic.
I I never really thought about that, but like one of my favorite characters in Sonic is it's also a Team Chaotix member, SPO. I really enjoy SPO in the games. I guess if I can voice SPO, I can do it.
Have you ever tried it?
I one of my first ever auditions on casting
Casting
club
Call
dot call
Club.
or whatever it's called. Yeah, was a Sonic IDW dub, comic dub, and I auditioned for not Vector, SPO.
I was gonna say, do your Vector. Who's better?
I didn't get it, but like it would be cool. And SPO is just one of my personal favorites. I actually, now that I think about it, going back to Transformers, I really want to voice Transformer, and like I know I won't be able to because I can't live up to the legendary Frank Welker, but
Oh,
I would love to
Megatron.
I would love, not Negatron, I would love to
Soundwave.
voice Soundwave.
Soundwave.
And like, you know, most of the time people wouldn't even know it's me because it will be heavily distorted and vocoded or whatever.
I mean, if they
But
don't filter
I
you
don't
as
but
if
it's
they
like,
don't if they filter you like in the old show, because it's pretty distinct. It's Frank in the original show.
yeah, but like at the same time, I don't really care. Soundwave is my favorite Transformer of all time. I and I would really, it would be really cool. And it's funny because my like the sort of voices that I like to do are the one that I do mostly enjoy are, I like doing villain voices,
Oh yeah.
like again, one of my main inspirations is Steve Bloom, but my voice is not raspy enough to get like that.
You can't get that.
That's
Like my voice. I can't get that. Like I can. Like if I smoked a few cigarettes maybe, but I
oh
can't. I
no.
can't get down there.
Yeah, but I
Like
wouldn't.
that's the closest I can get. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, like, I've always been told that I have a low voice, most of as a
Yeah, you
child,
have
but like,
a
you know,
like your voice seems to fall under my range, like a medium to low. Like that's like listening to your voice.
yeah, yeah. Like I can send you a few, like, because there's I have tried to replicate Soundwave's voice, and Soundwave's voice is essentially just Doctor
Well,
Claw's
yeah,
voice, but just heavily
it's just Doctor Claw
edited.
with a modulator. It's just like
Yes, Lord Megatron. Yes,
like it's
Yeah,
just yeah, it's just that.
much.
Like
Lord Megatron.
But yeah,
like
but yeah,
I mean, I've always wanted to do
uh,
Starscream. That's my big one. So,
oh yeah, that's a fun one.
because that was like one of the
S-
first. That was one of the first voices I think I ever learned how to do. I mean, I'd want to do my own thing, but like one of the first voices I ever learned how to impersonate was Lotta, the original. Because I that's such a funny voice. That's just such a funny voice to me. Is just Chris Lotta's Cobra / Starscream. Because I just like
yeah.
it's so pathetic, but it's so over the top, and it just constantly sounds like he's angry, but it's such a sad voice. Such a pathetic sad voice. It's oh Lord Megatron. It's like,
One of my favorite lines from him, like Megatron goes, yeah, it's like, what did he say? Is like, you're either a coward or you're stupid. And Starscream just goes, stupid, I'm stupid. Oh man, that's so funny.
I think one of
Yeah.
my favorites is it's not even Starscream, it's Megatron responding to Starscream was in the movie. It's like much easier than attacking me. It's like the Autobot moon base. You're an idiot, Starscream.
You're
Like
an idiot,
nothing,
Starscream.
Nothing prompted it. He just calls him an idiot for no reason.
You're an idiot,
Yeah.
Starscream.
Yeah, but I mean, anything Transformers related, I can lend my voice to, or even just like my artistic hand to. That would be cool. Same thing with stuff like, I don't know, Ninja Turtles. I don't know if I could voice a turtle, I would want it to either be Donnie or Raph,
Yeah,
because
so
those were my two favorites.
you have a very Donatello-ish kind of voice. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like I've been watching a lot of the Rise of the TMNT a lot, and Donnie is just like my favorite out of that show. And like I'm normally not really a Donnie fan, but like it just the personalities of that show are just so good.
I
And
say
like,
Donatello's always been, it's only been since the 2012 show that Donatello's become my favorite, and I think he's my favorite on Rise at the same time. Because
yeah, because like prior they were just like, oh, Donnie's the tech dude and he's the nerd or really like that, and like they didn't really like flesh that out. Besides, oh, he does machines because in the team song that's what he do. But but yeah,
yeah, it hasn't been
same
until
thing
I
with
think
Leo
like the
with that.
last like 7-8 years where they've actually made him kind of more like a snark. Real like that's
Yeah, and
like he almost took
yeah,
like
and
Raphael's
I'll put that
original
one.
personality like a little bit.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, no, I'm all for it. Anything Donnie is good for me. Like Rise of the TMNT, I've been watching it. Like the animation of that show
So
is
good.
fucking awe-inspiring. It's so good.
Oh
I
God.
listen. I love the show. I hate Nickelodeon for how they treated this show. They I don't know if I don't know if you know this, but like
Oh, I'm
basically
aware. I'm
Nickelodeon,
aware of how they treated it. Yeah.
yeah, they just didn't give it the spotlight or just like the time it needed
Well,
to,
it's the whole SpongeBob thing. That's why they kill most of their
exactly.
shows. It's
If it ain't
bullshit.
a talking sponge,
Or the Loud
then it's
House.
irrelevant.
If it's not the Loud
Oh
House or
god.
SpongeBob, then they kill it. That's pretty much been it the past
I
few
feel I
years.
I feel like they I feel like the way that they treated TMNT is also sort of it's reminding me of how they treated Korra. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, well, you mean
Where
how it used to be on the main channel and then they moved it to Nicktoons and
the
then the last
last
season
and
was
the
just
last season was just
online?
streamed online.
Yeah, it was
Well,
online only.
yeah, what a gracious send off to the series. Thanks, Nickelodeon. Uh,
Well, it's like
but anyways,
I remember CH Greenblatt, the guy who made Chowder, talked about the guy who made Harvey Beaks. He talked about how because he used to work on SpongeBob. He said like like Nickelodeon has just had this stigma for like 15 years where if it's not SpongeBob or if it doesn't hit major levels of popularity in like the first year, basically they kill it. And I remember he
yeah,
was like, it's stupid for them to think that way because SpongeBob wasn't a hit at first. It wasn't until like the second season where it started picking up a lot of attention.
yeah, definitely.
Like it's just I don't get it. And the fact they still have that mindset like annoys me even more.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, like even just like in the animation industry, and it just in a sort of a business standpoint, there's a lot of complications like that. And I just feel like it's sort of a waste because Rise of the TMNT obviously has a bunch of talented animators who just love the craft and love the IP so much that they're pretty much like every single episode they go all out. And Nickelodeon's just like, is this doing numbers? No, get the sponge out, everybody. I was like, oh come on, man.
It's not
Uh,
doing the numbers 2012 did. Even like I love 2012.
I really like the 2012 one. I never finished it though.
It's like
I dropped off on about season, what was it, season 3 or something? Like it was after Leo's voice got changed to Seth
I
Green.
think that was right.
Um,
That was the season before the Fugitoid season. That was like the season before, which is my
I
favorite
remember.
season.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing like screenshots and clips of that. I was like, wait, what the is this? What am I watching?
Yeah, the
um,
Triceraton season.
oh yeah, but like there was a lot of like the turtles were looking like all grotesque and weird looking, like it was like a future episode or something. Or I don't know.
I'm trying to remember what that was. It's been a while since I've watched.
It was like some sort of apocalyptic reality.
Oh, that's the last season. That was the anthology season where they were doing just basically whatever they wanted because the story was basically over. And that's like the Mad Max future episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very confused when I saw clips of that. I was like, oh, huh. I thought they somehow created a spin-off of a series that was still going on.
Yeah, no, they came up with this Mad Max like future scenario where every human being is dead. So April is dead and Casey's dead and everyone is dead except the turtles.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's dead and Raph has gone crazy and Donnie's a robot. Like,
oh man. Yeah.
It's like 2012 is personally my favorite, but I'd say Rise is my favorite in terms of animation and comedy. But I'd say TMNT 2012 is like my favorite, just roundabout, just everything about it I really like.
Yeah.
I also might be a little biased because it's made by like my favorite person currently working in animation, Ciro Nieli. So.
Oh yeah.
Because he also made my favorite Disney cartoon, so. Which unfortunately ended before they could get a final season out. Do you remember Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go? Did you ever get that?
I do remember that, and I do remember watching quite a bit of that. It was very unfortunate that show didn't get as much as love and attention that it should have.
Got four seasons. And then they killed it when they ended Monkey Team on a cliffhanger. On a big cliffhanger. And now Ciro talked about a couple years ago how he wants to finish it, but he can't because he doesn't work for Disney and he doesn't have the money to buy the rights back, so he can't finish it.
Unfortunate, but it is what it is.
I mean, have you ever heard supposedly this is what I've heard about Disney is if you pitch a pilot to Disney, apparently they own that pilot even if it doesn't get picked up.
I heard about that, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Well, I think Jonan Vasquez talked about it because he had a pilot a few years ago and he pitched it to Disney and they didn't pick it up, but they kept it. Basically, they owned it and he wasn't allowed to shop it around anymore because they owned the rights to the pilot. What's the point of that? Like if you're not even going to pick up the show, what's the point of like holding the pilot hostage?
Yeah.
Especially since apparently they've still owned the rights to pilots from like the 1980s.
Oh yeah, I did remember reading something like that.
Yeah, like they still own shit that never got picked up from like 30, 40 years ago. So you've held this person's shit hostage for like 30 years and you just won't give it to them? Like that's really fucked up, dude.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, the animation industry, especially when it comes to business, big business type stuff like that, is all over the place.
And it's just like, can't we just have a good thing and just have everybody enjoy it and not be some sort of commercial business shit show? I think everybody would like that.
I think I find it more sad when shows get canceled before they get the chance to even do all the shit they wanted to do. Like Rise.
I mean, I feel like well, at least Rise had a really good finale. By the way, I haven't finished Rise. I haven't finished Rise yet. I'm still in the middle of it.
I'm not gonna spoil it. It's a good finale, but even the people that made it said yeah, it was originally gonna be a 26 episode season, and we had to shove a bunch of shit into the finale, and like.
I remember that, but I was about to say I feel like that's partly the reason why a lot of animators or just like content creators in general, they go and create their own shows sometimes, or even like their own sort of like a series I don't know if you know Jello Apocalypse. He created a epithet. I'm sorry, Joe, if you're watching this.
I think it's epithet.
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, Joe, if you're watching. But yeah, he created that, and that was pretty successful. And I mean, before it became before it became as huge as it was, Ruby was started by the late creator Monty Oum, and that was just started as a passion project that got a lot of attention.
Like Red versus Blue's another big one that's still
Yeah,
popular to this day.
yeah, yeah, but like unfortunately, there was a lot of business side that kind of soured a lot of the sort of where it came from as it started as like a passion project and like a sort of creator's visual dream or whatever. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Animators want to animate stuff, but they also at the same time want to get paid, and for that, the business side of things have to go well, and sometimes they don't go well, or like they either have to pull a few strings and make compromises in order to make like a decent buck. If not, if not, sometimes the projects don't get greenlit or they get like super rushed, and it's not as black and white as some people might think it is when it comes to the animation industry and like shows in general. But yeah, like I said, it is what it is, and
I think the crazy thing is like when people actually like finish their show like 2 seasons, just tell the whole story in like 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Like I remember when Gravity Falls ended, like that was huge when that ended because it was like, yeah, it only got 2 seasons and they told the whole story. And I think even like Alex Hirsch talked about how like Disney asked if they wanted another season because the show was so popular.
Well, I mean, like I feel like that's because I feel like stuff like that is when the distributors of that show, or even like the business side, where there's a lot of communication and a lot of just a lot of back and forth between the actual creators and the people who are involved in the animators and the business side, and just basically a lot of stuff where things just work out in all of their favor. They get a lot of showtime and screen time of Gravity Falls, online or even on TV in general, and they're able to make the amount of episodes they want without compromising or like without like technically like rushing things or whatever. And again, they were able to pump out like a finale that wasn't rushed at all, or that didn't feel like we were yearning for more. It felt pretty much perfect. And many many shows like that come along with like a really well sort of timeline in them, and just like it's well received, and even like sometimes the creators don't really have that sort of like bad blood or bad like sort of ill intent towards like the distributor, in this case Disney. And it just shows that if people are dedicated to their craft and the people working with them are willing to allow the creators and the people involved to do what they do, while also keeping the business side of things, just the business side of things, but still making it work out, it's quite possible to come out with something like Gravity Falls that was incredibly successful in both Disney's like I guess watch time or market time or whatever, but also just well beloved by people all over the world, animators, kids, and like adults alike. And something like that comes every once in a while that a lot of shows wish they had, but unfortunately, some unfortunately didn't get the kind of limelight that they wanted. And
I think
I guess that's what people want.
I think Kipo, I think that just ended, that Netflix show. Like, because I think that was another one where I heard about like the creator only wanted it to be short. Like they didn't want it to be like 5 seasons.
Yeah, I see. I haven't seen Kipo yet, actually.
Well, and I think She-Ra, that was another one. Actually, I just remembered She-Ra was another one that like they only got like a few seasons, but they said like that's all they wanted was those few seasons.
Yeah.
Well, and it seems so much more accessible now with streaming for some shows to get the amount of time that they want, which I find really interesting. With the exception of Tuca and Birdie, that sadly got killed and then Adult Swim took it. So, but like Netflix seems to have like a pretty good reputation with that, which I find so interesting. I'm trying to even think of like a Cartoon Network
I find it.
show recently that's had that. I guess Infinity Train, but even then, that's supposedly canceled from what I've heard.
I just find it. I find it cool that a lot of people are able to pour so much into what is essentially a passion project and create it into something that can be enjoyed by everybody, even if the business side of things work out in their favor or not. And it's unfortunate to those who are unfortunately sidelined or even just like outright canceled just because it wasn't doing well viewership wise, and they just shoved it to the side and said, all right, let's just put out the more popular thing. But yeah, the animation industry is a very competitive one, and it's a very, if it ain't doing numbers, then why should we bother thing. But there comes a time, there sometimes comes a time when everybody is just so dedicated to just getting this out and making it look good as possible, and like making it flow well without like having it rushed. And I feel like that's why a lot of new series, I guess Netflix stuff, you'll notice that most of them have like 12 to 13 episodes like per season. And I feel like it's because they were able, they're like, I feel like shorter episodes, or like, sorry, a shorter list of episodes, they can, well, technically try to condense a sort of coherent enough story, and like without it either dragging on or without it feeling too rushed or whatever. And the best thing that can come out of that is they would either want people, they would leave people wanting more, or they would leave people satisfied with what they have. And either that kind of reaction elicits sort of positive feedback for the people that are making it, and that'll continue to drive people to want to make more. And hopefully it'll show investors that this kind of thing works and people are interested in it, and maybe we should pour some money and support the artists that make them. And then that's just how it is.
Well, I mean, with given where a lot of animation is going, I'm personally thinking a lot of stuff is now going to start moving to streaming, or at least it's going to be a lot more common, because it's already starting to happen. Is that I think they're going to start making a lot more original content for streaming because it's more accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, and also I think you can track it's numbers are probably a lot more trackable with streaming, especially if you release everything weekly. Because like, was it like Netflix will release numbers where it'll be like, oh, this is like 2 weeks, this got like 58 million views, like in like 2 weeks. That's crazy, because there's like shows that don't even get like 1 million like for one episode, or even like 500,000. I don't know, just it's animation is just such a crazy industry with where everything has been going the past few years, especially.
Yeah, I feel that.
I don't know, I gotta say, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for having me, dude.
Yeah, is there anything you want to promote or anything like that?
I have a YouTube channel called Pringus McDingus. That's usually where I upload all my new videos and content. I have a Twitter. Where I tweet a bunch of stuff, and mostly that's where I'm technically most active, where I post like some sort of like statuses, or if I'm posting something like I draw sometimes, and I post there. I have a Patreon, and on my Patreon you can if you pledge $1, you can take a look at the works in progress of my next project that I'm working on, so you can get a little sneak peek. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to promote.
All right, and again, thank you so much.
Hey, no problem. Thanks. Thank you too, man.